my God, how much I missed you. Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. What is going on, War Room family? Welcome back to the War Room after a brief hiatus. Welcome to episode 243. And if you are new to the War Room right off the bat, welcome. Let us know in the comments that you have never joined us here in the War Room before. And also let us know where you're joining us from. So not only can we welcome you properly, but we can also toast to you. So we like to have a cocktail here in the War Room from time to time. I've been gone the last few weeks on vacation. Last week, I was with Jelly Roll. This week, I am back in the War Room in my house, which for anybody that doesn't know is the room where all the military memorabilia from my family members and also all the things that I brought back from my trips overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan are, but it's also where the bar is. And so we started getting together on March 14th of 2020, and we did 80 nights in a row riding out the height of the pandemic. Then when we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast in June of 2020, we turned Cocktails in the War Room into a weekly gathering where we get together to talk about music, talk about the world, talk about our lives, and basically just be an online support group for the craziness that we're all living through right now. And I came home from STURGIS to a drop-off of Fernandez's famous sangria. Yes, he did up the inventory. Oh, so good. So freaking delicious. I have missed you guys so much. I have so many stories to tell you. On Sunday night, I got together with the backstage pass holders to kind of talk about some of the stories from my vacation. I really did, and I apologize, want to do the War Room from STURGIS. And I was shocked at how terrible the cell service and the Wi-Fi is. I was in Wyoming, then I was in South Dakota. It was so unreliable, and I had better cell service than most of the people that I was with. And it was just so brutal that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this time, be on vacation with my husband and my friends. I'll save up all the pictures and the stories from the trip, and then I will bring them all to you guys here in the War Room. So Christine says 243. That's the mug I got you. Well, Christine, I use it quite often. It's reserved for Fernandez Sangria because of the serving size, because Fernandez's Sangria is so delicious. I topped it off with some seltzer tonight, though, because I was so excited, not only to drink the Sangria, but to talk to you guys, that I didn't want to get white girl wasted here in the War Room before I had a chance to say goodnight. So, Carol, I missed you too. What's up, Denise? Lisa's here. John joining us. Kevin. Tracy is here. Elsa is here in the War Room. I know Travis is here. Dondi is here. Mr. Voorhees. So many stories to tell you. I will let you guys know that the house guests are still in the house. My family is kind of long-term staying in the house because of an issue with a home renovation gone awry, and Wednesday is fixated with the baby. My nephew Dax is here in the house, and I have not been able to lure Wednesday away from the baby to come in here in the War Room. So she's in the house. She's just not in here right now. For anybody that's new to the War Room, my pug Wednesday gets her own camera, the pug cam. Usually when we start the show, she comes running because I have cookies in my pocket, but she has not yet joined me here in the War Room because well, she likes the baby better than me. Let's just put it right out there. Hines says, story time with Mistress Carrie. I do want to let you know that if you're new to the War Room, or if you're not new to the War Room, coming up in the show, I have got Ghost tickets to give away. I have got tickets to see Mastadon and Gojira. Ghost is going to be at the Xfinity Center with Amon Amarth. Mastadon and Gojira are going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway for 2 shows. I've got tickets to both. And I have Nickelback tickets for the Xfinity Center. So if you guys like your tickets like I do, free, I try to hook War Room family members up with tickets from time to time. Tonight is one of those times, a backlog of tickets that I wanted to give you guys over the last few weeks, and the shows are coming up really fast. So If you want to win free tickets to Nickelback or Mastadon and Gojira or to Ghost and Amon Amarth, you've got to stay tuned on the show tonight because I'll tell you guys how to get those tickets. And I've got the tickets, so I'm going to send them out as soon as the show is over if you want them. So you just got to keep watching. Okay. So I got to go on a bucket list dream vacation. You guys know I've been riding motorcycles since the early 2000s, and I have always wanted to go to Sturgis. I've ridden the Cabot Trail in Nova Scotia. Obviously, I've been up to Laconia because that's easy. But I have always not only wanted to go to Sturgis, but wanted to go to a lot of the national parks that are in that part of the country. I've driven cross country several times, but always taken the southern route. So things like Crazy Horse, Mount Rushmore, Needles, Custer State Park, the National Grasslands, Black Hills Forest, Devil's Tower. There are so many things that I've always wanted to do that I just never got a chance to do because I've never been to that part of the country. This was the time. So it was kind of a belated birthday. It was kind of a belated honeymoon for my husband and I, who are getting ready to celebrate our 3rd anniversary already, which is totally bonkers for me to even think about. So I wanted to fill you guys in on the trip and some of the highlights. The Backstage Pass holders got more in-depth stuff over the weekend, which is one of the benefits of having a Backstage Pass, which you can get on Patreon. But I brought a bunch of pictures of my trip that I wanted to show you guys. So right off the bat, I ended up originally supposed to fly from Boston to Denver, Denver to Casper, Wyoming, where I was going to meet my husband and a bunch of other friends. And the flight from Boston got delayed, which meant my connection from Denver to Casper, I was going to miss. So me and another friend that was on the flight, one of my AAF to Afghanistan guys, opted to fly from Boston to Denver, rent a car, and then drive the 4 hours to Casper, Wyoming, because we didn't want to take the chance with so few flights going into Casper that the next day the flight was going to get bumped again. So we land in Denver a little bit late. We get the rental car, and the first thing we need to do is get something to eat. And so I didn't know about the come and go, that it was such a thing, but it is. So the first thing we did, I was like, we need to stop for a photo with the come and go because reasons. So I send this picture to my sister to let her know that I landed okay, which is something I always do now that my parents aren't around, to be able to kind of just make sure that my sister knows where I am all the time. She does the same with me when she travels. So I send her that picture. She's like, please tell me that Come and Go has their own merch because I need that t-shirt. Now, to anybody that lives in this part of the country, you're used to the Come and Go. But to people in the Northeast with dirty minds like me, this was a new thing. So, of course, I had to buy my sister a t-shirt, which was hilarious. So then we did some motorcycle riding around Wyoming. One of the places that we went was Douglas, Wyoming, which is this picture down here in front of the College Inn bar, which dates back to, I believe, 1906. Douglas, Wyoming is the home of the jackalope. So they're kind of everywhere. I was thinking about bringing one back. For anybody that doesn't know what a jackalope is, it's basically a rabbit with deer antlers, and it's a taxidermy fave in this part of the country. However, a jackalope is like $300. Number one. Number two, I didn't know how I was going to get it on the motorcycle, so I didn't end up buying one. But Douglas, Wyoming, really cool, very kind of old, turn of the century Western town, unbelievable cowboy boot store. I'll make this picture a little bit bigger because I want to make sure that I am saying all of this right. So Douglas, Wyoming, College Inn bar. This place is old. And a lot of the places that I visited on this trip have tons of heads in them. Like taxidermy is a major thing. So Douglas, we were actually on a poker run for this big motorcycle ride. So we rolled into Douglas in this giant pack of motorcycles. And then this was one of the other pictures that I took. These towns were so small that basically when we showed up with the motorcycles, we like quadrupled the population of the towns. So I insisted on laying in the middle of the road. Everybody thought I was insane. Then they saw how cool the picture was, and then everybody else wanted to take the pictures too. So you guys know how much I like to find these weird roads. The roads are better when they've got the yellow line painted in them, because then you can really tell that it's actually a legal road. I'm not telling you to lay in the road, because if somebody gets hit, I don't want you saying, Mistress Carrie told me these pictures are cool. But I tend to take these pictures from time to time when I travel to places that have roads less traveled. So, yeah, I had to take the laying in the road photo as well. Lots of really great old saloons, just really cool vibes, lots of cheese curds, lots of fried things, which I was totally fine with. Here is another picture from just out of where I took the picture in the road. This whole group of people, one of the reasons we were getting together was a biker wedding. And I had a little bit of a biker wedding where a lot of people showed up to my wedding a few years ago on motorcycles. And it was just an absolute blast. We took wedding photos on the motorcycles. Well, this was kind of what happened as well. And so these were all the girls. There were a lot more guys there than girls, but the girls all got together. Yes, she wore a wedding dress. Yes, after she said her I do, she put her leather vest back on. Then she got on the back of her new husband's bike and rode with her wedding dress on, and it was awesome. We rode in this massive pack. We rode an hour into the middle of nowhere to have the wedding kind of at this amazing overlook in this canyon. And it was gorgeous. And then it was just a great ride back. And then we all went and celebrated after. But biker weddings are a blast. And then this picture up here was me getting ready to leave Wyoming and head to South Dakota. And we stayed with a friend of my husband's that lives just outside of Rapid City. And so this was the test of the marriage right here that I was telling you guys about, because whatever luggage I flew with had to fit on the motorcycle and had to be able to go the distance on the motorcycle. And I'm happy to say that even though he wasn't really happy with the size of the bags, they did fit on the bike. My marriage is in fact intact, and the trip was awesome. It was really hot at the start of the trip. There were days where it was mid to high 90s, even 106 at the height of the temperature. And yes, I had all my safety equipment on, helmet, leather jacket, the whole thing. So it did get hot from time to time. I did want to show you guys that I brought the War Room family with me. I made sure that I brought my Cocktails in the War Room shirt and hoodie, and also brought the Mistress Carrie tank top with me as well, because I wanted to make sure you guys were with me on the trip. So we made it to the border of Wyoming. I tagged the sign with a Mistress Carrie bumper sticker, and then to the border, obviously, of South Dakota. These were across the street from each other. So I tagged the South Dakota sign with the sticker as well. And then once we got closer to Rapid City, we arrived in the STURGIS area before the rally, like almost a full week before the rally. And for anybody that has been to Laconia, you know that the Lake Winnipesaukee area kind of gets congested with motorcycles for that week. STURGIS is so much bigger and so much more spread out that there are people that stay up to 150 miles away in campgrounds with RVs. It's just massively spread out and affects so many towns around STURGIS. I mean, Rapid City's 30 minutes outside of STURGIS, and there's so many people on motorcycles there. It literally just takes over that whole part of South Dakota. So as we were riding, oh, really? Oh, really? Little Miss Wednesday, did you decide to join me in the War Room because everybody missed you so much? Oh, you're afraid I was going to grab you? Are you going to come over here and give me your paw? Do you want a cookie? I have one in my pocket. Come over here. Good girl. Can I have your paw? Sit. No, sit. Paw. Other paw. Sit down. Sit. High five. Sit down. Sit nicely. There you go. For anybody that's new to the War Room and is waiting for the free tickets, this is Wednesday. And that's where you can find her on Instagram at Wednesday the Goth Pug. That's where you can find me on Instagram and Threads and on Facebook as well at Mistress Carrie WAF. I haven't had the heart to change it. Wednesday, I was just telling them about the time that I abandoned you and went on vacation. She's still somewhat scarred from it. Actually, not really. She was with the baby the whole time. Can you get down for me? Good girl. Pa? Thank you. You're a good girl. Good girl. So Wednesday, I was telling, can I show them the rest of the pictures? Wednesday's jealous because where we were staying in Rapid City, we stayed with dogs, big dogs. Larry, Ruby woke me up every day and greeted us at the door every night. Right? And Piper, too. There's 3 giant dogs out in the middle of nowhere. All right, so let me continue with the pictures because we got to do the rest of the show. So we decided on our way to Rapid City to stop at Mount Rushmore and at Crazy Horse because we wanted to make those trips before all the traffic arrived. So here is me at Mount Rushmore, which is spectacular. The Welcome Center at Mount Rushmore is unbelievable. There is a giant bridge after you park in the parking garage that you have to walk over that has all the flags from all the states and the U.S. territories in Washington, D.C. And there are plaques representing all the states and territories and when they were incorporated. So obviously I had to take a picture in front of the Massachusetts one. Then about 10 minutes away is the Crazy Horse Monument, which contrary to popular belief is not a national park. It's actually privately funded by the Sioux Native American tribe, and they are raising the funds themselves. They did not want to be beholden to the United States government, and they didn't want to take any government funding. So this here is Crazy Horse, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger in case you're not familiar. So it's been under construction since the mid-1940s, and eventually, you can see in this picture, eventually Crazy Horse is going to be basically a half of his body with long flowing hair, his finger outstretched, pointing towards the horizon, riding a horse. As you can see his profile. And if you look down under the hole in the mountain, which will eventually be under his arm and behind the horse head, if you follow that to the lighter part of the carved stone, you'll see his index finger outstretched, and that's the progress they've made in the last few years. Because of the discoloration in the stone from the recent excavation, you can see that it's Crazy Horse from miles away only because of that discoloration. Hey, stop. Don't be fresh. But it's really impressive. The Welcome Center there. So the national parks, if you're a veteran, you get in for free. The state parks in South Dakota, you do not. And obviously Crazy Horse, because they are raising money to finish the monument. That was $20 for us to get in on the motorcycle. Not that big of a deal. The Welcome Center has a lot of amazing classes and educational programs. They have a lot of Native American artifacts from all of the tribes in North America, which was really educational. They also had a pit of stones, which I forgot to bring in here. I promised backstage pass holders that I would bring it in, and I left it in the other room. And Wednesday has no thumbs and is incapable of going to get it for me. But they actually have this big bin of stone that's been chipped away from Crazy Horse, and you're allowed to take one. And so I was able to take one, and it's in my dining room on a shelf, and I forgot to bring it in here. But I cannot tell you enough how gorgeous the scenery was, how beautiful the national and state parks were, how gorgeous Crazy Horse was. So even if you don't ride motorcycles, if you are looking for a family vacation, there are so many campgrounds out there because so many people rent RVs and make these trips in campers outside of Sturgis as family trips. You've got to do it. Absolutely gorgeous driving, really scenic vistas, beautiful national parks. I loved all of these things. One of the other things that we did was we went to Custer State Park, which is where the wild herds of buffalo are. And When I posted this picture up on Instagram, so many people were like, what are you doing? Don't be an idiot. Get away from the buffalo. We're inside the state park on a road. The herds of buffalo are wild and there aren't fences. So if you're on the road and the buffalo decide to cross said road, you stop. And that's what happened. We got stuck in a traffic jam with about 15 cars and about 12.5 motorcycles. And the buffalo decided we want to cross the road. And they did. And not only did they cross the road, but they were crossing it right in front of people just sitting on motorcycles like my husband and I. And they basically tell you, don't move, don't rev the engine of your motorcycles, don't threaten them, don't do anything that's going to scare them. Just sit there and let them go. They're used to vehicles driving through the parks, so just don't taunt them. Don't try get off your bike or get out of the car. Just let them cross the road. So that's how close we were to the freaking American bison, which is what they're called. Buffalo comes from the French word le boeuf for bison. So there you go. Literally 15 feet away. They are huge, thousands of pounds. What you can't see is the baby that's behind my head. But I did not go chasing after the buffalo. I did not try to take selfies. I was sitting on the motorcycle when I took this photo, just for absolute clarification. Mark says, great, now I want a buffalo burger. I did have buffalo while I was out there and it was delicious, bison burgers. So Custer State Park is gorgeous. They are fields of prairie dogs and just all kinds of cool stuff running around, the big rams and just all kinds of stuff. It's gorgeous. So then Custer State Park has Needles, which is this photo up here, which is just this unbelievable mountain road with these rock outcroppings that pop out of the different topography within a few hours riding of Sturgis is so unbelievable. So we're in farmland. Those are sunflowers, by the way, just as far as the eye can see. And within 10 miles of this, we were in the Badlands, which looks like something out of Star Wars. It's just unbelievable. Needles is just part of the ride of Custer State Park. The park Needles gets its name from this particular rock formation that looks like a sewing needle with the hole in it that is not man-made. They did make tunnels through some of the rocks, which you've seen, like just those giant rock tunnels that you can drive your car through. It's gorgeous, spectacular, worth the $20 to go into the park. Really, really cool. Those tunnels are one way at a time. So when you get actually to the Needle and some of the other tunnels, people pull off to take photos like we did. It's just beautiful. And then one of the other things we did, my husband always carries a hammock on his motorcycle in the saddlebags. So we set up the hammock and just pulled over and like hung out for like a half hour and just chilled. And it was awesome. Just hanging out in the mountains, beautiful scenic vistas. We brought snacks with us and just listened to the wildlife that was running around in Custer State Park. And it was awesome. Eric says, what did the buffaloes say when they dropped off their kid at college? Bison. Eric, I don't feel good about that joke whatsoever. I remember it when there was buffalo in Mass. Yeah, isn't there still a buffalo park somewhere in Western Massachusetts? I thought there was. They have bison meat at Aldi sometimes. I have 2 packages in the freezer, said Rachel. It's delicious. I ate elk as well. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not usually very adventurous about what I eat. But when I went to South Africa, I tried a lot of different things like warthog and oryx and ostrich and crocodile. So I'm trying to broaden my horizons when I get offered the opportunity to eat different things. The elk was delicious. It was actually elk steaks that my husband's friend actually hunted himself. So it was fantastic. All right, more pictures because I want to get through them. Let's see. Farm's still there, but there is a brewery now, no buffalo. So then we did a bunch of day trips with some other friends that had come in from New England. When you're out riding around and you come out the backside of the Badlands, which, by the way, is unreal. They said 500,000 years ago, the Badlands didn't exist. And we talked to paleontologists that were actually there in the Welcome Center of the National Park that said 500,000 years from now, the Badlands won't exist either because of erosion, which is just amazing. We saw fossils that had been excavated, found by just regular people in the Badlands, including a full saber-toothed tiger fossil that was found by a 12-year-old girl, which was really cool. So when you come out of the Badlands, you start seeing billboards for Wall Drug. The town of Wall is just this little town. And back in the 30s, this husband and wife had a little drugstore there, and there was not much else there. So then they started putting signs on the roads to come to Wall Drug. They're known for their 5-cent coffee, which you can still get a cup of coffee at the Wall drugstore for 5 cents. And now the city of Wall has grown up around the drugstore. There's restaurants, a Harley Davidson dealership, novelty stores, just all kinds of stuff going on. Very cool. There's a post office there, so we got some postcards and sent the kids postcards from Wall, South Dakota. But it's definitely kind of a tourist trap, the way south of the border is, where you see the billboards for miles and miles and miles, but we had to stop. Then one of the other things we did was go to Deadwood, which is something everybody told us to do. This is where Wild Bill was killed outside of Saloon 10. I wore my War Room t-shirt for you guys. My husband's been trying to get me to wear a cowboy hat for as long as we've been together. And I've always said, if you can find me a black leather one with a skull on it, I'll wear it. Well, we went to Deadwood and they had one and he bought it for me. And now I have a black leather cowboy hat with a skull on it. So of course I had to wear it while I was walking around Deadwood. One of the other day trips we went on, which was totally worth it, was we rode out to Devil's Tower. And anybody that's seen Close Encounters knows about Devil's Tower. Along the way, you pass through the town of Aladdin, which has 15 residents in it. And basically the only thing in Aladdin is the general store, which is run by a family. It's famous. Those gas pumps right there are antique and they still work and you can still get gas out of them because we did it. And you can buy everything from popsicles to ammunition. There's a bar in there. There was a little kid outside who's the son of the owner selling lemonade for $1 a glass with a sign that says Tito's shots available inside at the bar. So people were buying a cup of lemonade from the kid, going inside and paying the bartender to put a shot of vodka in them. The kid, in the time we left in the morning, rode out to Devil's Tower and then rode back, made $300. Kid's not stupid. But you definitely have to go to the Aladdin General Store. It's unbelievable. We bought cheese curds there. We bought like crazy shirts there. We got caught in a torrential downpour on the way back from Devil's Tower. And so we decided to stop at the general store and we ended up seeking refuge in the bar in Aladdin for about 90 minutes. And the taxidermy stories, it's called the Shaved Beaver Bar. And when you go inside, there's 2 beaver pelts, a natural beaver pelt, which is quite rough, as you would imagine if you've seen photographs of beavers. What you may or may not know is if you shave the outer layer of fur off of a beaver pelt, it is extremely soft underneath, like mink. And so when you go inside, they ask you to pet the shaved and unshaved beavers. And I just wanted to tell you guys here in the War Room, I made you proud. I petted both the unshaved and the shaved beaver for you. I did it for you. Rachel says, good old American capitalism right there. Kid is fucking brilliant. Oh my God, trying to turn off my dirty mind. Jonathan, you can't. Shaved beaver. Yes, it's the name of the bar. You can't make this stuff up. The Welcome Center at Devil's Tower is awesome. The Native American legend for Devil's Tower, which if you're not familiar with Devil's Tower, if you haven't watched Close Encounters, I'm going to zoom out. First of all, I find it very hard to believe, and I'm not a crazy tinfoil hat person, but do you guys see the straight lines that looks like a freaking door on the front of Devil's Tower? Natural occurrence, they say. The Native American legend is that a giant bear sharpened its claws on the sides of Devil's Tower, and that's why there's those ridges. Now, what you can't see that we learned at the Welcome Center is that the ridges are actually hexagonal in shape. And the theory that we learned at the Welcome Center is that Devil's Tower was actually a volcano. The volcano erupted, the magma was stuck inside the volcano and hardened, and then the volcano eroded away. And so actually Devil's Tower is, according to the theory, the actual hardened magma from inside the volcano, and the volcano is gone. It is spectacular. You have got to see it in person. It's got a totally weird vibe to it. There's hikers, there's paths that you can go. It's unreal. And when you go there, there's alien stuff everywhere. They've got UFO stuff everywhere because there's a lot of people, especially because of Close Encounters, that believe that Devil's Tower has something to do with extraterrestrials and UFOs. I'm going to let you guys debate that here in the War Room. I'm not here to tell you what you believe. I'm just here to tell you, if you have never seen it in person, if you are looking for destinations on a road trip, Devil's Tower cannot be missed. It is awesome. Some of the other photos from the trip before we start talking about the podcast, and I let you guys know who my guest is. I had a chance to go to Jesse James Dupree's Full Throttle Saloon. He's come on the show before. This place is huge. It literally holds like 30,000 people. After riding in the rain, I met this nice young woman who had a bottle of espresso flavored moonshine that was all too happy to serve it to me. And we were trying to conserve water, so no glasses were needed. She was tipped handsomely, but yes, that is espresso moonshine, and it was so delicious. Part of Full Throttle is they have this whole moonshine store, and I ended up buying a bottle of it, and it's with my husband. Fingers crossed. The next time we're together, there's still some of that left in there because it's delicious. This was the picture underneath is us arriving at Full Throttle in an absolute torrential downpour. Like, I'm talking almost couldn't continue riding because it poured so bad. I was soaked, but I wanted to get a picture of me in front of the giant statue of Indian Larry. If you're a biker, you know. So I wanted to get a picture in the Indian Larry pose in front of Indian Larry. Then I went inside and drank the espresso, and it was delicious. And Full Throttle, the last night I was there, Drowning Pool was there. And so I wanted to make sure you guys knew once again that you were with me in spirit. So I had my Cocktails in the War Room hoodie on as well. So thank you guys for making the trip with me. I really wanted to make sure that I represented the family well. And I felt so bad that I wasn't able to do the show while I was away that I wanted to make sure you guys knew that you were with me on that trip, even though we couldn't do the show while I was gone. So John Bon Jovi should be on your podcast. Jessica, I would give almost anything to have John Bon Jovi on my podcast. Then I got home, and within 48 hours of getting home, because I missed Jelly Roll in Massachusetts, I was notified that I needed to make the trip to the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion to go and see Jelly Roll on the Back Road Baptism Tour, and that is exactly what I did. Jelly Roll has completely upped his game. The production was fantastic. The band sounded unbelievable. The set list was perfect. This was us after the show backstage. And I just wanted to show you the kind of hospitality that gets offered for friends of Jelly Roll when they go backstage. This is a friggin' rowboat full of ice with all the shrimp and lobster rolls that you could stuff into your pie hole. I had to get a picture of it. There were signs everywhere that were like, no phones, put your cameras away. But I needed to take these 2 photos backstage because they needed to be done. And obviously Jelly Roll knew I was taking that one because one of the guys on his crew took it and he was like, don't fuck it up. So Jelly Roll was amazing. His hospitality was unreal. And so far, every date of his Backroad Baptism tour is completely sold out. I told you guys about Jelly Roll a couple years ago. I told you guys to watch out for him. It's one of the things that I always wanted and envisioned with the podcast is to be able to turn you guys on to newer artists, and to watch what has happened with Jelly Roll in the last couple years has just been unbelievable. Now, I was off the radio as well. Now that I'm back on the radio, I want to remind you guys, the annual Hair Fest for the Pike is happening this Saturday at Indian Ranch in Webster. It's happening Saturday. Gates open at 11. Music starts at noon. The Four Horsemen, the Metallica tribute, headlining this year. And then coming up September 9th, Rock Fest at Indian Ranch with the Prince tribute, Love Sexy. Anytime I'm talking about an event, you can always get the details on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Speaking of the Pike, a recent guest on the podcast, George Thorogood and the Destroyers, celebrating 50 years of rock. They are playing the Pike's birthday bash on September 2nd at Indian Ranch, and those tickets are available as well. Details are on the event calendar. Also want to remind you, it's not just the Pike that I'm on. I'm also on 106.3 The Bone in Portland, Maine. I do want to let you guys know that they got their first set of ratings with me on the air up in Portland. And I cannot thank you guys enough for listening, not only on the Pike, but on the Bone as well. Even if you downloaded the Bone app and you're listening to the show, the ratings were fantastic. The station is number 1, and the bosses couldn't be happier. So thank you guys so much for all of the love and support and continuing to listen to the podcast here in the War Room, on the Pike, on the Bone, on the Westwood One stations, because over the last 3 years, you guys have rebuilt my entire career. So it was very exciting to get those ratings. Also want to say thank you to everyone at All Access, including my longtime friend Ken Anthony, because All Access has been a website for radio, kind of the hub of radio for decades. And it's going out of business at midnight tonight. It's coming back in a different capacity, but Ken Anthony has always done this question and answer thing with people in radio, and he calls it 10 questions. And I did one of his final 10 questions, and you can check it out on my blog at mistresscarrie.com. I put it up there for you guys. In honor of the espresso moonshine that I had at the Full Throttle for the cocktail recipe this week, I tried to find something that was close to like an espresso moonshine, and I really couldn't find anything that was close. So rather than just pick some rando recipe, I wanted to do a recipe and dedicate it to the little kid in Aladdin, South Dakota, who was selling the spiked lemonade to bikers. And I thought this sounded delicious. It's called Double Vision, a little foreigner reference there. It's lemon vodka, black currant vodka, bitters, and apple juice. And I never in a million years would have put those flavors together, which is why I'm not a mixologist, because a really good bartender, like a good chef, can imagine flavors together. So you take an ounce of lemon vodka, an ounce of blackcurrant vodka, 4 dashes of bitters, and an ounce of apple juice, and you shake the ingredients and then strain them into a martini glass and serve. And that is called a Double Vision. There you go, in case you want to take a screen grab of it. Blackcurrant, love. Lemon vodka, love. Apple juice. The bitters, a little unsure about that. But we also like to talk about garnishing cocktails here in the War Room. So obviously, currants, obviously a lemon wedge. I'm thinking maybe a sugar rim, maybe sugar and cinnamon because of the apple juice. But I thought the Double Vision was delicious. I need to get an espresso kind of moonshiny kind of recipe in honor of that delicious espresso moonshine. Now, over the last few weeks, we have not been able to talk about the podcast. So Elias Soriano from Nonpoint was episode 164. Then Jolly from Bad Omens was episode 165 while I was away at Sturgis. Last week, episode 166 went live, featuring Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves, who is also right now filling in on guitar for Ice Nine Kills, and therefore opening up for Metallica on night number 2 of the M72 World Tour. And I had a chance to talk to Doc Coyle, but unfortunately, I recorded the interview right before he played in his home state of New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, kicking off the Metallica tour. But he just talked about what an honor it is to be asked to cover for Ice Nine Kills and to go out on that Metallica tour. And then Bad Wolves are touring this fall with Asking Alexandria, 0936, and The Who. And they're going to be at the House of Blues, I believe, on September 10th. So the details on that show are in the event calendar. But if you missed Doc Coyle on episode 166, that was last week's podcast episode. You'll remember he was on, I believe, episode 9 on the Guitar Hero episode with Mark Morton from Lamb of God and Chris Traynor from Bush. I wanted to get 3 guitar players from 3 different bands to kind of talk guitars. And I was lucky enough that all of them were home because of COVID. A little bit harder to do those kinds of episodes now because everybody's touring and it's harder to get everybody nailed down at a time when they can all be on the show together. So last week's episode 166 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, featuring Doc Coyle from Bad Wolves. This week's episode, I'm really excited for you guys. He's really funny. He's not known for his sense of humor, but he is really funny. And I only had so much time with him. And when you listen to the episode, I basically had to kick him off the show because I was keeping him too long and off his schedule, but I could have talked to him for hours. Richard Patrick from Filter is my guest. His new album with Filter, the band's 8th studio album, comes out next Friday, August 25th. It's called The Algorithm, and the band is currently on tour with Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, and Ministry. And he was awesome. He did it from his own recording studio. We talked about his relationship with Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails, his appearance in the Hired Guns documentary, which I'm going to let you guys listen to that part of the interview. I don't want to ruin it for you. We talked about the new music. We talked about the tour. We talked about his songwriting, his family, vinyl, cassettes, technology, social media. He's hilarious. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear this week's episode. So episode 167 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight with my guest this week, Richard Patrick from Filter. And make sure when you're listening to the episodes, if you haven't subscribed already, that you subscribe to the podcast. Not only do you get the weekly episodes, you never know when we're going to release bonus episodes, and you get the sit rep, which comes 5 days a week, unless I'm on vacation, Monday through Friday. It's about 5 minutes long. You get rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, and it uploads really early in the morning so you can listen to it first thing in the morning, be up to date with everything that's going on, and then get on with your day. Speaking of Bush, did you see the footage of Kingston Rossdale performing? Rachel, it's obvious that the musical genes from Kingston's mom and dad, because his mom is Gwen Stefani, and his stepdad, like there's just musicians all over the place. Yeah, it's not surprising that one of their 3 kids was going to end up involved in music at all. Jessica says, Richard Patrick, I love his band Filter. Jessica says he is so funny, cannot wait. Did he mention his brother Robert? Only growing up, talking about sharing albums and stuff. We didn't really get into his brother's acting career. However, Richard Patrick has been scoring films, much like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross has been, and we talked a lot about that in this episode. Someone should ask Alice Cooper when Wayne's World 3 is coming out. Eric, I would love to get Alice Cooper back on the show. He's been on the show already, but I was so fixated on talking to him about the Muppets that I didn't really think to ask him about Wayne's World. But the Muppets, go back and listen to the Alice Cooper episode if you haven't heard it. Heidi says, have a good night, everyone. Always a trip in here. Peace. Good night, Heidi. Sorry, I'm keeping you guys so late with all of the stories of the trip. That's, by the way, all the places you can listen to the podcast, including all the episodes available on YouTube as audio only right now. The podcast has tapped out at 149 countries. I don't know what I need to do to fill in the rest of these countries, but as of right now, the Mistress Carrie podcast available and listened to in 149 countries on the planet, which is pretty spectacular. If you're celebrating your birthday today on August 15th, you're sharing your birthday with Joe Jonas, with Tommy Aldridge from Whitesnake, with Tom Foreman from Switchfoot, and Nipsey Hussle. They were all born on this date. So if today's your birthday, happy birthday. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Cheers to you guys. God, Fernandez. Sangria, I missed it so. All right, let's talk about some of the music headlines and some of the other stuff that's going on, and then I'll tell you guys how to win all those free tickets. The new Stained album's coming out. It's going to be out next month. It's called Confessions of the Fallen. So bummed that I missed Stained and Godsmack when they were here in Massachusetts on the tour. Everybody that had tickets said it was fantastic. Dropkick Murphys have got dates in Maine, New Hampshire, and Connecticut. They're not going to be playing dates in Mass until St. Patrick's Day next year. The final Candlebox album, The Long Goodbye, is coming out next Friday, the same day as Filter. And Kevin Martin basically said he was inspired by all of the time that he had off during COVID, where we recorded a couple episodes for the podcast, saying that he just missed so much of being a husband and a father that he asked his wife, how would you feel about if I were around a lot more and I retired from touring? And so that's what he's doing. Candlebox coming out with their last studio album, and they're going out on their final Long Goodbye tour. The Britney Spears book coming out October 24th. It is going to be a barn burner. Corey Taylor's upcoming solo album, CMF2, is on September 15th. There's also rumored that a long-buried Slipknot album that has been in the archives for 17 years is going to come out in 2024. Pretty excited about that as well. So I'll have more details on that coming up. Trying to get Corey Taylor on the podcast. He's going to be at the House of Blues coming up in September. We'll talk about that in a minute. Greta Van Fleet at the Garden, the 15th of September. Queen and Adam Lambert on October 15th and 16th. The Arctic Monkeys on September 3rd. The Eagles, September 11th. Depeche Mode on Halloween. Tool on November 15th. And, of course, Aerosmith on New Year's Eve at the Garden with the Black Crowes on the Peace Out Farewell Tour. And those tickets, while there are still some available, are very expensive. So if you want to go see Aerosmith on New Year's Eve, it's going to cost you. Big Night Live has got Thrice on October 11th, The Darkness on October 17th, and Mammoth WVH and Nita Strauss on November 15th. There is going to be an awful lot of shredding that night. By the way, if you saw the Barbie movie, it's Slash and Wolfgang Van Halen playing guitar on the Just Ken song that Ryan Gosling sings in the film. Disturbed are going to be at the Xfinity Center this Friday. And then on Saturday, Ghost, which I've got free tickets to the Ghost show coming up. Also, Nickelback on the 22nd, got free tickets to Nickelback coming up. The Offspring, September 3rd. Then Shinedown, Papa Roach, and Spirit Box on the 23rd of September. And as always, all of the concerts that I'm talking about are on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Coming up, Tool at the SNHU Arena on November 13th, at Mohegan on November 10th, and then, of course, the show at the Garden on the 15th. We're just talking about that. Ann Wilson at the end of the month at the Wilbur on the 27th. Chris Shiflett from the Foo Fighters releasing his upcoming solo album, Lost at Sea, on October 20th. The new Filter album next Friday. Podcast episode out tonight at midnight. And Puddle of Mud releasing Ubiquitous on September 8th. This is coming up on Saturday. Collective Soul and Rubicon at the Cabot Theater in Beverly. The guys from Rubicon have been longtime friends of mine. And the guys from Collective Soul have been on the podcast as well. So if you're looking for something to do on Saturday night, this is happening at the Cabot Theater. And I also want to remind you guys, Friday and Sunday this weekend, Metallica taking over movie theaters around the world because they're live streaming their 2 concerts from Arlington, Texas on the M72 World Tour. And if you want to find a participating movie theater, go to metallica.film. That's where you can find the theaters and also get tickets if you want to go and watch live streamed Metallica in movie theaters at a theater near you. And this is around the world. This isn't just in Mass. This is everywhere. Matthew says, hello, hoes. Happy early birthday, says Tracy. Leo's birthday in the house, or Leo birthday in the house. What's up, Jonathan? Let's see. Anyone going to GNR? Matthew, I believe I am, so I may see you there. Who else is going to Ghost? Steven wants to know. Kim says she's going to Ghost. What's up, Kim? How are you? My birthday is next Wednesday, says Bish. Well, we'll make sure we're toasting you next Tuesday night. I'm going to Patriot Place for the Metallica concert. This weekend? Yeah, that movie theater is awesome at Patriot Place. Julie says, don't lick anything weird and wash your damn hands. A little OG action there. So this is happening this weekend. Metallica.film is where you're going to go to find the movie theater that still got tickets. And a lot of them are sold out. The Palladium has got Sleep Token coming up September 12th. That show just completely sold out. Begging, borrowing, and stealing to go to that show. Need to see it. And then the return of the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival coming up September 15th and 16th with Parkway Drive, Lamb of God, Hatebreed, Shadows Fall. That, by the way, is Palladium outdoors. So after 5 years of a hiatus, the Hardcore and Metal Festival coming back bigger than ever, which is awesome. Those are all up on the event calendar. And then the MGM Music Hall, August 18th, Newfound Glory, Mastadon and Gojira, the 20th and 21st. Free tickets for these shows coming up. Also Beck on September 5th, Billy Idol on the 9th, Danzig on the 11th, 3 Days Grace and Chevelle October 14th, Motionless in White on October 29th, and Porno for Pyros on October 30th. Those back-to-back shows just in time for Halloween are kind of epic. Boston around Halloween is between Depeche Mode and is going to be insane. And then at the House of Blues, Asking Alexandria and The Who with Bad Wolves in 0936 on September 12th. Corey fucking Taylor, September 13th. Those tickets are on sale right now as well. New releases coming up this Friday. Aerosmith's Greatest Hits, a giant box set coming out. Atreyu's new EP, The Moment You Find Your Flame. Slipknot live at Madison Square Garden, the vinyl reissue. Sonic Youth live from Brooklyn in 2011. And the Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense, the deluxe edition. These are all coming out this Friday. Mail call this week, no mail call. At least there wasn't anything there when I went there today. But it's been a few weeks. I did mean to bring in some stuff from my trip, but I got to tell you guys, I really did not bring or buy that much stuff on the trip because there was no place to put it. I maxed out that motorcycle with luggage. The espresso moonshine, I don't have. The rock that I brought from Crazy Horse. The only other thing that I bought, and I bought at every location, all of the state parks, national parks, all the tourist attraction places we went, all sell motorcycle helmet stickers because so many people go to the area for Sturgis. And so now my full face helmet is decked out with all of these crazy stickers on it. So that was one of the things that I collected. The other thing, because my husband wanted to go, Dixon opened up a pop-up shop in downtown Sturgis, and they released a custom Dixon flannel. So I ended up getting, you can't really see it, the Sturgis girls tank top at Dixon. And so this was one of the only things that I bought. I did buy a few t-shirts and like a couple tank tops from different Harley dealerships and stuff that I went to. But normally, and I bought some Christmas ornaments that I'll show you guys as the holidays get closer. But normally I'm the kind of person that buys all kinds of stuff on vacation. And I just couldn't buy anything because there was just no place to put it. Keith says there was nothing in your box this week. Nope, Keith, my box is empty. You could have mailed it to yourself. Jonathan, I know, but we were on such a breakneck pace that it was just one of those things where it was just like I was living in the moment. buying stuff I could carry. I definitely always buy Christmas ornaments when I travel. The helmet stickers were something that I wanted. We sent the kids postcards from a lot of the places that we went. But otherwise, it was more of just like an experience thing. And the pictures. I took over 1,200 pictures. It's kind of insane. All right. I want to give you guys a bunch of tickets. I had meant, before I knew I was going on this extravagant vacation, to give away all of these tickets. And then I found out I was going away. And so I've got a lot of tickets to give away. So if you want to go and see Ghost on August 19th at the Xfinity Center, if you want to go and see Nickelback at the Xfinity Center on August 22nd, or if you want to go to see Mastadon and Gojira August 20th or 21st at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway, this is how you get any of those tickets. Go to mistresscarrie.com right now, because these tickets are limited and I'm going to give them away and fulfill these ticket requests as I get them in. Go to mistresscarrie.com, click the message the studio button, and a form will come up. You're going to put your full name, your email address, and in the subject line, you're either going to put Ghost or Gojira or Nickelback. And I am going to fulfill as many of these ticket requests as I can. It is a windfall of free tickets. This is my way of saying, I'm sorry that I couldn't take you with me when I went to Sturgis. I'm sorry that we didn't do the War Room for 2 weeks in a row because I was away on vacation and then with Jelly Roll. This is my apology. So I've got a ton of tickets to give away. Ghost on the Re-Imperator with Amon Amarth on the 19th. Nickelback at the Xfinity Center on the 22nd. And then Mastadon and Gojira on the 20th and 21st. So literally like 19th, 20, 21st, 22nd. Like, this is a lot. You can ask for tickets for more than one show, but I want to try and spread the wealth as much as I can. So you can ask, but I'm not promising you're going to get everything that you ask for. But you stayed up late with me here in the War Room. You missed me over the last couple of weeks. So I really want to hook you guys up with tickets. So go to mistresscarrie.com, click the message the studio button, make sure I get your full name, your email address, and let me know that you want Ghost tickets, Gojira tickets, or Nickelback tickets, and I will do what I can to fulfill your requests. Now, coming in the store, the Backstage Pass holders already know what they're going to look like. T-shirt Brian is very busy as we speak right now because he is printing the long sleeve Mistress Carrie t-shirts that I have been promising you guys. I wanted to make sure that I had them as we go from summer to fall. We had the tank tops for the summer. We're going to have the long sleeve shirts for the fall, and they're coming. Next couple of weeks, hopefully, definitely by Labor Day weekend, there's going to be long sleeve shirts coming in the store. And as soon as I get the mock-ups and the pictures, I will share them with you. But they're on the way, ordered. Super excited. They're going to come small to triple extra large, and they're going to be unisex. And then if you don't have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, we do monthly live streams. We got together on Sunday night, told them way more about everything that's going on, a lot more behind the scenes stories about my trip. We do that every month. You can submit podcast interview questions. I'm getting ready to release a whole list of confirmed interviews that I have coming up in the next few weeks. So you guys can submit questions. You get the travel blog updates, early access to event tickets. When the long sleeve shirts become available, you are going to get, if you have a Backstage Pass, discounted merch codes to get the new shirts at a discount, exclusive concert ticket giveaways. I did have Mudvayne tickets for you guys. Backstage Pass holders have the ability to get Ghost tickets, Gojira and Mastadon tickets, Nickelback tickets. You also had access to Godsmack Stained and Jelly Roll tickets and Extreme tickets. And I do have some more tickets coming up for you guys later on this fall that are going to be exclusive to you guys. Backstage Pass holders get first dibs on everything. So if you don't have a Backstage Pass, go to mistresscarrie.com or go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie and get your Backstage Pass. So got a lot of exciting stuff coming up for the fall. I want to let you guys know that I have launched these new pages for the podcast in addition to the Mistress Carrie pages. The podcast now has its own threads and its own Instagram at Mistress Carrie Podcast. And then obviously the Mistress Carrie pages at Mistress Carrie on Twitter, threads, Instagram, and Facebook at Mistress Carrie WAAF, TikTok, Cameo, YouTube, Patreon, all at Mistress Carrie. And if you're downloading stuff, you can get the Pike app and listen to me anywhere you are on the Pike every weekday afternoon. And you can download the Bone app and listen to me every afternoon on the Bone in Portland, Maine as well. So happy to be back, guys. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful messages you guys sent me, commenting on the pictures of my trip when I was able to post, telling me that you were so happy that I was able to get time with my husband and that you were loving the pictures. And even though I was excited to be away on vacation, it's nice to come back. I really did miss you guys a lot. There's a lot of great stuff that's in the works for the fall. I'm working on some other business stuff. Fingers crossed that we're going to have some news coming this fall about expanding some things. And there are also some upcoming appearances as well for you guys to be able to come and hang out with me. Pike appearances, Bone appearances, and some more charity events as well. So be on the lookout for that. You can always find updated event information on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. So I would love to listen to you on the Bone. Really, Keith? Hey, Carrie, I pre-registered for the Boston Marathon with a qualifying time. I will know in September. Wait, you pre-registered with the charity, I'm assuming, right, Bish? Bish might be running the Boston Marathon. We're working on getting him a bib. We're going to find out in September. So excited. So excited. Bone appearances, calm down, Jonathan, he says. Jonathan, you're right that, yeah. Mr. C is what it is. All right, guys, episode 167 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring Richard Patrick from Filter. I will see you guys here in the War Room next Tuesday night at 8:30 for episode 235. So glad to be back. Get those tickets. Nickelback tickets, Gojira tickets, Ghost tickets. Go to mistresscarrie.com. Click message the studio. Let me know which tickets you want. I'm going to go fill those right now. Wednesday says goodnight. She's not here. She's with the baby. Good night, guys. Hit the button. Hit the button.